So for the heart, I like to think of it just in terms of muscular versus membranous. Okay? And you can remember your ventricular septal defect happening in the membranous portion of the septum, because the membranous portion is less solid. Okay? The muscular portion, super strong, more solid, less likely to have a hole in it because it's solid and strong and whatever. So, as you have this muscular interventricular septum, you have a portion here called the interventricular foramen, and as you have your neural crest cells migrating and contributing to the aorticopulmonary septum, this thing right here, it ends up connecting to the muscular interventricular septum. Well, you can think of it yourself. Your aorta and your pulmonary trunk, I mean, that's not as solid, right, as the heart muscle making up a good portion of the ventricle, is it? I mean, you can touch the aorta, you know, it's all whatever, and you can touch the pulmonary trunk. It's not as solid as actual heart muscle. Okay, and as a result, this less solid area is kind of membranous. So this is the thing that makes the membranous interventricular septum. And here's kind of how everything spirals. I always had trouble looking at this image and seeing how it spiraled. You know, I guess it's pretty similar in that you have, you know, what's here on the right goes to the left, from the left it goes to the right. And of course endocardial cushions are there, and endocardial cushions play a huge role with valves, and you'll see that a little bit farther down. So let's keep on talking about problems with neural crest migration. Well, problems with neural crest migration, you're not going to be able to make this nice aorticopulmonary septum that then goes down and contributes to the membranous interventricular septum. So what are the few things that can happen if you don't have good neural crest cells? Well, transposition of the great vessels. You don't get, you know, this right to left, left to right. You can actually have the bottom all messed up. Okay, tetralogy of Fallot, again that makes sense. And then the persistent truncus arteriosus, where you have a failure of this to divide into the aorta and the pulmonary trunk. And you just get one giant outflow tract. Kind of like this, you just have the truncus arteriosus. It doesn't end up dividing. Alright, and of course valve development, endocardial cushions, aortic pulmonary valves, endocardial cushions of the outflow tract. Well, that makes sense, because when you have everything flowing out of the ventricles, it goes through the aorta and the pulmonary trunk. Okay, and then for AV canal, these endocardial cushions turning into the mitral and tricuspid valves. Well, think about what the mitral and tricuspid valves divide. The atria and the ventricles. Boom. Okay. Alright, truncus arteriosus and bulbus cordis. Well, we've already looked at this a few times. Ascending aorta and the pulmonary trunk. That's literally what these things turn into. Okay. What's below it? The bulbus cordis. Oh, look at this. Looks like this is a little bit of this is part of the ventricle. Doesn't it look like that? Well, as luck would have it, it has the smooth part of the left and right ventricles. And what we're going to have in this entire thing is smooth part and rough trabeculated part. And then we have the smooth part of the ventricles here. And here at the primary ventricle, well, primary, primitive, kind of like a rough draft, you can think of it as the trabeculated part, not smooth part, left and right ventricles. Okay, so the ventricles are all taken care of. You have the smooth part, and now you have the rough part. Fantastic. Now let's look at the atrium. primitive atrium. Ah, okay, the rough part of the left and right atria. All right. Now let's look at the left horn of the sinus venosus. Let's actually whip out a photo here of our coronary sinus. The coronary sinus takes blood from the heart and dumps it into the right atrium. All right. So the left horn of the sinus venosus, well, you always think of the left as the heart, and this ends up dumping everything into the right atrium. So then the right horn, we were just talking about the right atrium. Look at this. It's the smooth part of the right atrium. Perfect. So again, here the big thing is the left horn. Left, you think heart. It's the coronary sinus. Okay. Well, the coronary sinus ends up dumping all its stuff into the right atrium. And that's the next thing here. The right horn. Right horn makes the smooth part of the right atrium. Yeah, look at that. This portion here is the sinus venosus, left and right. Okay. What's next? Endocardial cushions. We already talked about here the endocardial cushions, how they make up all the valves. AV, semilunar valves, membranous intraventricular septum, and how they form part of the atrial septum. Okay. So next I think about common cardinal vein on the right. Well, on the right side, what do you have? Well, you have your venous circulation. Okay. Here. And then you also have your cardinal veins. Okay. Well, you can kind of think of this vein as being one that's apart. And you can also remember how your superior vena cava is apart from the rest of them. At least that's how I think about it. So this turns into the superior vena cava. Okay, and next here you have subcardinal vein. Well, you had your cardinal vein, subcardinal vein. Anything sub is inferior or below, and so inferior vena cava. Now there's more to remember than just that, but this is the one that makes it click in my mind. And the exception to the primitive rule being trabeculated is right here, because everything has been taken care of. We've looked at the smooth part of the ventricles, we looked at the trabeculated part of the ventricles, we've looked at the trabeculated part of the atria, we've looked at the smooth part of the right atrium. So the only thing left is the smooth part of the left atrium, pulmonary vein. And that's what also makes sense, because you got to think about, well, the left atrium, where's it getting stuff from? Pulmonary vein. Boom. Easy as pie. 1, 2, 3.